absolutely.
Absolutely, as in like not now, huh?
Oh, right now I can. Absolutely. So let's say Tesla goes up like 30 points. Then you put in a call option to sell your stock, say 50 points higher because it pumped up, but usually it races up like 40 points and then so that's when you put in your trade when it's high, but then towards the day it just sort of trickles back. So you've got all that room that it would have to get to hit your mark way above. So
You're explaining arbitrage. You're explaining some
yeah,
sort of mechanics of arbitrage, but
yeah.
we've got the podcast has begun. Mitch is talking about money. Brian Mazzilli has been waiting in the waiting room for us, sitting there so patiently.
What?
Welcome back, Alchemist. This is the Alchemist Nation
Wow.
podcast. Myself, Gualter Amarelo, Michael Schein, Mitch Jaworski, and today we have a very special guest, Brian Mazzilli, who's a real estate investor out of Massachusetts. Scaled up, has done syndication, he's done his own deals. He was actually working a 9 to 5 for all of his acquisitions up until his most recent ones. Started flipping houses in Plymouth, Mass. And overall, just a great guy. He's built a wonderful business. His wife sold a business recently, and his son now invests in real estate. So, son and daughter-in-law. So, Brian, welcome back to the podcast, man. It's the first time on with us, right?
Yeah, first time.
So, Brian,
Amazing.
do you remember why I invited you to come on the podcast? Do you remember what I said?
Um, no, not exactly. Probably maybe a different perspective, but
What I said was you're very successful, and I don't think too many people know about it.
yeah.
True.
You're like this quiet millionaire who just hangs out, shows up, do networking events, you mentor people, you coach on the side, but you're like a quiet, like secret real estate investor, and it's a totally different approach from a lot of the guys that I've done interviews with in the past, with big syndicators with big followings. And I think that that turns a lot of people off for what's possible for them. So today, we're interviewing people that we know, people who have been successful with us, who are good people, and that's what made me say, let's bring Brian on. So,
Yeah,
welcome, Brian.
awesome. Yeah,
So
good
Mitch has
stuff.
some selfish questions that he doesn't know you well enough. He was saying that right before this podcast. He was like, I've heard of Brian, I've met Brian, I've seen Brian, but other than you being a Rush fan, that's about all Mitch knows. So Mitch, let's start it off.
I mean, is there really anything else I need to know?
Yeah, there really isn't. Really isn't.
Gosh.
Oh my God.
So Mitch, when you first started real estate, you didn't have a lot of mentors. You didn't have a lot of guys who gave you advice. Brian is one of those guys who's mentored a lot of people. What do you think separates a mentor from somebody who's not mentoring?
The desire to do so.
A desire to do so. So I got to start right there. Before we go into the desire to do so, no, I want to know it. Like, so just be thinking that, Brian, like, how did you get into mentoring? Why did you start it? Before we get into it, let's go all the way back to how did you get started in real estate? You're working a 9 to 5. You've been working a 9 to 5 for like your whole life. So how did you get into real estate? What was the first deal?
Well, we were looking for a business location for my wife, so we were renting a building for her adult daycare that she owned, and we said, this is ridiculous. We're spending all this money. Why don't we try to buy something? So I went around and started looking for a place, and I found an old abandoned building. It was a Knights of Columbus, and it was abandoned. So I went to the town hall. I found out who owned it, and I contacted him. He lived in Florida. No idea what I was doing. So I sent him a letter and asked him if he would sell it. And he actually called me on my cell phone and said, "Yeah, I'd be interested in selling it. What's the price?" And so I just threw out a number, not really knowing what I was doing. And he goes, "Yeah, so you have your finances lined up?" I said, "No, I don't know how to do that. I don't really know because I've never done it." So I said, "I don't have any money." And he said, "Well, I can finance your down payment for the bank." And
Wow.
so he financed the deal, and he helped me along with the banking process. And I'm like, "Well, that was easy. You know, I didn't do anything."
Yeah,
So
if all the deals are like that, Brian, I can imagine. Yeah, that's an
I
easy win.
mean,
Hold on.
I,
So what is this letter? Because I've done like 5,000 mailers at a time and gotten like 6 calls back. So what was your mailer? What did it look like that
You
actually
know,
works?
I think it was just it was because it was a handwritten note about my wife having a business and this would be the great location. And I think he just said, you know what, let's contact them and see if maybe it would work out. So, so we own that and that was going really well. We put some money into fixing it up and a lot of help from the banks. Really didn't know what I was doing, but I did know one thing, that the lot was subdividable. So I bought the property for 265. I subdivided a lot off for 200. So I was in it for 65,000. And yeah.
Who told you could subdivide a lot? How'd you figure that out?
Yeah, because I've heard people talk about it years ago about, oh yeah, you can break a lot off. And so I just figured, I had a huge lot. It was acre and a half, and it's the biggest lot on the street. I should be able to do something with it. So when I started poking around, they said, yeah, you can subdivide that. And when I went to the bank, he told me, yeah, we have builders that would buy that lot. So I started thinking, hey, maybe I need to build on it, but I chickened out on building my own and I sold it to a builder. And of course I did what every young person does. I put a big addition on my house and lost a bunch of money on that with the builder took took about 85,000 because I gave him all at once, didn't know what I was doing, but managed to get it done anyways. I had a little bit more money aside. So later on, I've read that strategy in a book, and I'm like, I already know this. It's easy. And so
Cool,
It's
the hard
funny
knocks.
that,
that's how I started.
yeah, how
Where'd you get your number from? Like you said, was it just what you could afford or what was?
Yeah, that was about all we could afford. And today that building we did put it for sale recently for 900. And I wasn't in it for a whole lot. And this is a commercial property, so I had tenants that came in and came in the downstairs, and they put about 120,000 into the downstairs to get the property fixed up for them. So now I have two businesses in there. We sold the business, so we kept the property and sold the business. And yeah,
Amazing.
so that
I
was a
might have
pretty
missed it.
good
What was the
property.
purchase price on this one?
265.
Wow. How long did you hold it?
We've owned it now for geez, 20 years.
Nice.
Wow. Okay, so that's gotta be what it
Yes.
is. The
Six
handwritten letter
six
worked
hundred a
20
month.
years ago.
Yeah. So we collect 6,600 a month on that too.
The good old days.
So you're
That's
pulling
right.
in 6,600 a month. You bought it 20 years ago for like 265.
Hmm.
You bought it
Subdivided
with
a lot for 200.
and you got a lot
Right.
and you sold the
Amazing.
lot. You made 200 on the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
You should have
man.
just quit with this one. Like,
Done.
I
That's
did
done.
everything right. I'm done.
It's
Batting a
actually not
thousand.
it's actually not my best deal though.
Oh, really?
So
This is just your first deal.
it was my first deal,
Well,
but
hold on. What
I
was
have
the takeaway from that one is he talked about it and he said 20 years and it goes back to you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait.
Right.
that's
Right.
right.
Right. So
Yeah.
true.
I mean, 20 years. Yeah, you bought it at what the peak of the market, 2005.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So it's
But
yeah, you weren't even looking. You
I
weren't
was just
even looking, you
trying
didn't even
trying to
care.
find a place that we didn't have to rent.
Right.
So
And so
yeah,
you just saved rent. You did it. It was like business hacking. You just
that's
rent
right.
hacking. You found a space instead of doing it yourself. So you got into commercial real estate before you got into residential real estate. What was your shift to get into residential?
Um,
Or did you stay in commercial? Did you
you know,
just keep doing commercial for a while?
well, yeah, so I had that for a bit, and then someone was talking to me about real estate and buying things, and they're saying, well, why can you do that again? Like I said, yeah, I can buy it again. I can do that again. It was easy. So I said, I'm gonna find another one. So that's how I bought my first residential duplex. was that. So that was about probably like 4 years after I bought the commercial one. And so I felt pretty comfortable there. I started a transportation company, so I owned a bunch of buses. So I had like 10 buses and we were running them around. And
Cool.
Hold on. I didn't know this.
Yeah. Alchemist Nation bus. You
uh,
need
I'm
it for the
feeling like
world
Mitch right now.
Fabulous.
tour.
I know Brian well. I
The
feel like I
world
know
tour.
Brian well.
World tour.
Hold on. What's this bus company? How you got to be the only person I know who's like in the same conversation. Yeah, I needed a place to have my wife's adult daycare business. So I bought a commercial building with no money down, seller financed, and got a loan, and then split off a lot. And then I just had 10 buses.
Well, so she had an adult daycare, so we were contracting for transportation. So I said, why are we gonna contract for transportation? We can just buy our own buses and I'll run the busing company.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. This is all
yeah,
while you had a 9 to 5 job?
it is. I did it
Wow.
all on my
I'm
part-time.
impressed. I vaguely remember at one of the summits talking to you and you mentioning that you owned a bus company. Yeah, that's very cool.
It's cool, but I'm catching a theme here. I'm almost concerned that like if Brian ever starts getting massages, he's gonna own a massage parlor. Like very soon. Like we
I'm
better not
think
get him into restaurants. We can't
I'm
take him out to eat.
I'm thinking if you're looking for a title for Brian's podcast, it would be Necessity is the Mother of Invention because it's like, well, we needed a business for my wife's daycare, so we bought a building. We needed buses, so we bought buses. Yeah, nice job. That's so awesome.
Yeah, getting into businesses that we don't know, we don't understand,
Yeah.
and making them work because this failure is not an option. So,
Yeah.
and I think that was really the driver on real estate, knowing that, hey, I can do it. I've done it before. I'm not going to fail at this. It's so
So,
we yeah,
so I know you own some other real estate with your daughter out in Tennessee, correct?
yeah,
Was that also kind of necessity? You wanted to like buy something for her or
yeah. So I went out there and yeah, we bought one sight unseen out there, and then we
that's always good. You should
That's
do that a
Tennessee for
lot.
you.
but
I mean,
yeah,
it's all got to be good, right? It's
Yeah, why
Tennessee. Like,
not?
it turned out to be really good. So the broker that I had out there was a builder. So talking to him for a while, I really trusted the guy. So he went out and he did the inspection for me and send me videos, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a straight up guy. You got a lot of people out there that are, you know, they're very trustworthy. Like right away, you can tell that they're pretty good people. Uh,
Nice.
they're God-fearing people. So
yeah, I found that it's because people keep asking me, can I use your property management company in Cleveland? I'm like, no, like you can't because my guys only take somebody of my size and I'm the only client they're allowed to have. But it took us, Brian, like a bunch of times on the phone, and they kept saying this. I'm going to treat this portfolio as if it's my own. I'm going to treat this
yeah,
portfolio the same way I treat my portfolio. We're not going to nickel and dime you and everything. We are going to charge you a hefty management fee, but that's the only fee you're going to get. Everything else is going to be at cost. And like they kept kind of just speaking the language I needed to hear. Like they treated it like myself. What was the broker saying to you, this builder saying to you that you caught on to? Because you just said in a sentence a word that I know 90% of the planet would not say. You said most people are there's a lot of trustworthy guys out there, which I believe is true. I genuinely believe is true. But coaching hundreds of people over the last 6 years, I have heard more people say it's so hard to find good help. It's so hard to find a trustworthy person. Like this is a belief system in the world, and yet you don't have it. How
yeah.
did you? What
Well,
was it you said?
wait a second. That's Tennessee versus Massachusetts. I want to hear if Brian says that about all the contractors in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't
don't,
say that.
yeah, I don't have an opinion on that, but
We just lost every contractor who follows me
yeah,
in that one
right.
statement.
I'm saying I don't have an opinion on that, but I don't know if there's.
Well, this guy was real estate first, and as I'm talking to him about finding me a property and giving my criteria, um, the conversation came up that he used to flip houses, and he's still a licensed contractor. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. And then he started sending me videos and stuff. And he went and did some inspections on a couple properties. And he's like, no, you don't want that one. You don't want this one. He goes, I really like this one. So he went in, he's climbing underneath it. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. So, we went out there to see it, and I wanted to prove a point to Sharon. So I set this up beforehand. I talked to some different people, some off-market deals. So we went out there for a week's vacation, and I got 3 duplexes under contract while I was on vacation. And she's
Hold on, what
like,
was the point
"You-
that you were trying to set with your wife? What was I heard
that I
that
can
in my
go on
mind.
vacation."
That was an instant hook for me. I was like, okay,
That's
he's
right.
got to convince his wife something is possible.
I can go on vacation and just get 3 duplexes under contract with just on vacation. Doesn't matter. So
Nice.
yeah, we were able to do that, and
Hold on, did you close on all 3?
we gave the deals to my daughter, and she rock starred this thing, her and her husband. So they did close on all 3. They became 40% partners with someone who brought all the money, and they made like I think like 60 grand on the deal, and then they ended up selling it. So they went in with no money and just cash flowed them and sold them out. So it was a
Amazing.
good
That's
deal.
cool. That's cool. I did not know this story. So Mike, thanks for bringing that one up. I got to go back to the buses. So so you just I just had 10 buses. How did you go from no buses, renting buses, borrowing buses to I have 10 buses? And how
You
did
know,
that connect to the duplex? I'm trying to connect these dots.
it was funny because I was finding anyone I
Is it like
could
an
to.
eBay site that sells buses?
Now I was buying them all over the place. So I found some bus companies in Connecticut that had a bunch of used buses. So we ended up buying the used ones there. We bought a couple new ones, bought some used ones there. So I had a caravan of people. I think we had like 4 people go up there, and each one of us drove a bus back from Connecticut.
How
So
many people were you? It was a daycare center, right? How many
yeah,
people were you driving around every day?
well,
Like,
I started getting other contracts with other daycare
oh,
centers.
gotcha, gotcha.
So yeah, I started trying to expand the business, and we started doing, other things. And then we were going to rent the buses out for people, for the limo companies that don't have buses. They can rent ours if they needed a party bus. So yeah, we would
Wow. So
expand on the business, and then I sold it.
you hold on. You said party bus. You at some point owned a bus that was so high caliber that limo companies said, yes, we need that for the day as our party bus. Did this have lights and a pole in it?
No, no, it wasn't that nice. If you're going to take 15 people to Boston or to a Patriots game, you can load them all in a bus, and you're not going to take them in limos. So
Right.
Wow.
That's the Vegas option party bus is what you're
Yeah, I'm
talking
familiar with
about,
the Vegas
Gualter.
option, right? That's what they take you around all anything you sign up for. There's like the
oh,
Vegas option. Yeah. So you didn't have
that's
one of
true.
those. All right, I feel better.
Sharon just mentioned me when my daughter moved to Florida. We filled one of the buses up with all her furniture and drove her there.
Wow.
Legendary.
Amazing.
It pays to have a bus company. We're not going to pay movers. Next company, movers buses.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's get it back to real estate. So you had the 10 buses, and that was a motivation to buy some more real estate. You bought a duplex. How did you transition? Because you mentioned the buses as it was like some part. Where are you keeping these things? Where are you storing buses?
I had the drivers drive them home. That way, in
No
the
way.
morning, they can just leave right from their house and go do their run, pick their clients up.
You turned the liability of having the buses on a parking lot at all times into a bonus for the drivers. They can take it home. They don't have to come clock in.
That's right.
Right.
I love that. It's phenomenal. We did that with our guys here in Cleveland. We're like, yeah, you know what? You don't have to come clock into the office. Just show up at the job site. Just go to the unit. Just, go clock in there.
Yeah. Nice.
It's a service. You save your gas. You don't have to drive out here. That's
That's right.
funny. All right.
Yeah.
So you kept buying. You kept buying.
Yeah.
What was the first sale? Because selling for a lot of investors is emotional, right? You're a buying monster. Like all you do is buy. Everybody I know is a buy and hold guy when we start. And then at some point we have some sort of come to Jesus moment where we're like, this thing either has to go or it's
Mm.
this doesn't make any sense. Like what was that first sale like?
So there was so I did another purchase. I bought a portfolio from someone, and I was searching for portfolios for sale. So this consisted of 9 units, 60 unit storage unit company, and 2 offices.
Oh wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. And on one of the and a duplex. So on the duplex, I structured it so I would own the duplex outright with no mortgage, and then the other ones I would pay full asking price. So I was able to use the duplex as leverage, so I was able to buy it from the banks with no money down because I owned one of the properties outright.
Wow.
So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Brian, that's what I'm doing in Cleveland. I got one property worth 1.5 million that has no note on it and it's not included in any of the financing we're doing. And so I just went and refied it and was like, yeah, here's my down payment.
Mm,
Like I'm using a Brian Mazzilli tactic.
that's right. So
What do you
what I
call that?
did,
What is that move, Brian? What,
I don't know what that move's called. I've never read it. I've never seen anyone do it, but we did it. It's just a creative finance way.
you
So
structured, so this is 9 units residential. This is a duplex for free, 60 units uh storage, and then how many commercial units? Three?
2.
Two commercial units. And you in the deal said, look, we're gonna put no debt on this duplex for this purchase, but I'm also gonna have that. I'm gonna own that duplex and use that as a refi, as two separate closings or two separate
Yeah.
deals. Okay. And you just closed one before the other one?
Yep.
No kidding. Did you have to go on the operating agreement?
No.
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 Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of this. This is
Yeah. So
very creative.
so one half of that I ended up selling. So that's the one that I sold. I was gonna sell it because I wanted to do a 1031 because I found a 7 unit on the Cape I was trying to buy. And that one with another unit. So I was able to close on the other unit in Tennessee. And then the 7 family fell apart the day before probably on the 44th day of my 1031. So I ended up having a tax liability
Mm.
on part of that. And, so I did sell it. That's the one I sold off that I wish I didn't. I wish I just refinanced it. And,
Was
but
that the storage units, the 9 units, the
it,
commercials?
it was the duplex, 2 units and 30 storage units.
Oh, you split up the storage units.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you
I
still
kept 30 of
kept
them.
9 residential and 30 storage units.
Yeah, I kept all the best ones.
All right.
So
The way to go. Keep the cash flow.
yeah.
Yeah, this is impressive. So the other day, you and I were talking about deferred sales trusts and selling, and we were talking about the return on equity formula. Have you ever seen that before? Is that something you ever looked at?
No, not the deferred sales trust. I've never really looked at it. I've talked about it a couple of times. Like I actually called Mike to talk to him about it a little bit, but no, I don't really know much about it. I do have a meeting on Friday where they're gonna kind of go over it with me. See
I'm
if that's
hoping,
a if
yeah,
that's a good option.
I was gonna dig as much out of that as I can because I only know one guy who's ever pulled it off. He buys veterinary services, and if he makes more than $500,000, he's like, I gotta put it into a deferred sales trust so I don't have to pay taxes, and then he uses that money to lend. So
Someone told me well, in one of the podcasts I was looking at with a CPA, he said there's a term called the ugly 10 in the IRS. And this is number 9 of the ugly 10, where you're very likely to get audited. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, great.
I've only been audited 3 times, Brian. They just every 3 years they send me a little audit.
Huh?
I've been blessed. It's only on gas mileage. Every time they're like, well, I don't know. Who drives 14,000 miles in a year? This guy. No, definitely this guy.
You know, when I bought that big portfolio, um, a month later, I bought another portfolio of 18 units, 17 units and a restaurant. So I did buy a restaurant. So
Oh man, me and
I bought it
Mitch
a
have never
month
had the we
after.
should open a restaurant conversation, but I feel like that's the
Mm.
sort of thing that young guys do, right? We should have a bar. We should open a restaurant.
That is no. That is
But
an idea that anytime it pops in my head, it's like, nope, no food and beverage, pass. I like to enjoy my life.
Brian, what happened to the restaurant? Because it doesn't sound like it turned out too
It
good.
sounds miserable. It sounds
Yeah.
like
No,
a terrible
no, it,
idea.
it actually worked out all right. So I kept the 17 units, and then I got that. I went through the big process of getting that permitted through the town to reopen it as a restaurant. And then I started thinking about the cost, and the only thing I can cook is breakfast. I can't cook anything. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I going to do this? I'm just going to leave it there. And the town wanted me to take the building down because the building was from the 1800s, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. But they wouldn't allow me to do anything because we had a lot of uh, we're right on the Cape Cod Canal, and there's the denitrification issue with the septics. So I put the new septics in, and I had to take that off the plan and get a special permit after. But we did convert it to an apartment now, and it's completely done, and it's was completely remodeled from floor
So you never
joists.
opened the restaurant.
Never opened it.
That's why it's a good deal.
Great move.
So everyone stayed away from this property
Yeah.
when I bought it. So it was for sale. Nobody wanted to touch it because it was contaminated there was a gas station across the street that had a gas leak, and all of the gas came right onto the property, which was why the restaurant originally closed, because all the gasoline was there.
Wow.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, how can I buy that? I need to be able to buy that. So I started talking to some of the banks, and Radius Bank in Boston said, we'll go to the meetings at the DEP with you. And if we're happy with what they say on the cleanup, we'll fund it. So I went through that process with them at the DEP.
It's
They
amazing.
funded it. And everyone else was like, how the hell did you get funding for that? Like, we tried and we couldn't get anyone to do it, and just didn't ask the right people.
How much was
Wow.
did the cleanup cost?
So the cleanup's not my responsibility.
Oh,
It
okay.
was the gas station owner. And
Okay.
we just, so we've owned the property now for 10 years. And we just had the wells come back clean, and they just removed the 2 most contaminated wells. So they capped them off.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
yeah,
All
luckily
right,
it was
hold
gas and
on.
not oil.
This is an experience that not most people have ventured into, so we're gonna have to get into the weeds a little bit. So, like when you said, the cleanup financially wasn't my responsibility, it was the gas stations, which makes sense, they're liable. But at the
I
same
get that
time,
in retrospect, but nobody says that up front.
well, it's not even that though. People can be liable. People are liable for stuff all the time. Hell, people are liable to pay their rent. Doesn't mean people are actually going to pay the money. So as far as getting the cleanup done, how did that work? Like, was the gas station actually paying for it, or did they do it and then bill them? Or like, I'm more curious about I need to
Yeah,
know
so
this detail.
So with gasoline is a lot different than oil. So with gasoline, there is no real cleanup. So they'll remove the tank, and they remove 10 feet around the tank. And anything other than that, all they do is put monitoring wells in. And the gas station owners, and even if they sell it, that goes to the responsibility of the next owners. All they do is pour chemicals down there to help disperse it. And then over time, it usually takes 10 to 15 years, it starts to come back clean. So they're able to, and then you get a clean bill of health. So now you can pass inspection.
That's crazy. That
Yeah, a
is
lot of
a
people don't know that with gasoline
Mm.
and contaminated properties, they stay away from them, but we don't have to.
I'm so
That's absolutely
disappointed I
nuts.
didn't get to eat at that restaurant.
We just want to know somebody who owns a restaurant. Actually, I know a
A
guy. I just
restaurant right across from a super
You know,
fun
yeah, if you're
environmental
feeling a little
place.
disappointed, I got some photos I can show you. You might get over that.
Yeah.
we got the gas. We're cooking with
We're
gas.
cooking with
The gas
gas.
grill.
That's right.
So this
That's
this has
funny.
been a lot of fun. I gotta tell you, Brian, it's been inspiring to see you helping people, running your community, and just doing some of these deals. I've never heard of some of these deals. I know my experience with gas and gas stations in general has been the FHA law, where I think it's 100 feet. You can't, FHA will not finance a property within 100 feet of a gas station. And that's been, to me, like when I was an agent, that was a big problem because there were all these residential buildings in Fall River right around gas stations, and none of those houses could sell FHA.
Huh.
And it was just that's the only issue I ever had with gas stations. I never even considered that they could actually have a spill. Although when I was on a conservation board in Fall River, we used to require all these different components and wells and different things that had to be around the gas station in case of a spill off. So I do remember like the conservation meetings around, I think it was Gulf was putting one in at the edge of Fall River, and we were giving them a hard time. We're saving the hard-nosed turtles. We're really protecting the species out there.
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
mostly I was just following what the other guys on the board did. So I was like, yeah, did we get the abatement reports? Make sure the wells are there.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Brian, what if you go back to 20-year-old self
Mm.
and give yourself three pieces of advice? What three pieces would you give a 20-year-old entrepreneur who's just getting started, or even somebody who's in their 40s who's just getting started? Maybe they've worked 9 to 5 and they've accumulated some wealth, but they don't really know how to get into real estate, or if they should get into real estate. What are three pieces of advice you go back to give yourself? Maybe the advice you give your kids.
Well, definitely don't give up and keep going. There are a million people out there that have written phenomenal books. They have so much knowledge, they put it on paper. Um, don't get the mindset that people are only trying to write books because they're trying to make money, because they're writing down their real experiences. And I think
Because
that's
we didn't make
important.
any money on our books.
There's no money made on books.
There's no money made on books, but you get to
No.
share amazing stories and experiences. So
Yeah.
So I'm taking that as one. So don't give up.
yeah, yeah, don't give
Read
up.
books. I'll give
Um,
it two. Read books.
you really got to find a mentor, find people that are doing it, go to these network groups, listen to people, and I think follow up is the biggest thing. It's something that I'm not great at, is following up with people, and it's something I definitely have to work on. But follow up is big. And when you're in like an investment group, like I told my group this week, we had about 40 people there. And I said, one thing that we need everyone in here to do is you need to contact each other. We have an amazing group here. People know how to do all kinds of things, and people are sitting here not getting any deals done. It's because you're not talking to the right people that are sitting here. And let's pick our brains and let's work together and let's get some stuff done. Let's make the news.
Awesome.
Let's make the news. I own buildings that have made the news. It's not always a positive. It's not always a positive thing, but I know where you're going with this. Follow up. Follow up is so underrated. I would say I'm not even really that good at it. I'm very mechanical in my follow up, and I even get accused of, "Hey, is this a spam bot? This is your AI?" It's like, no, dude, it's me. I know. I asked you like a list of questions. I should say hi first. What what do you suggest people do for follow up?
Right.
Well, I think
Actually,
people,
Gualter, didn't you marry Darina? Wasn't that your
That was
follow?
my solution. That was like literally how I decided I was gonna follow people. I'm gonna marry somebody who's actually good at following up. Then I delegated. I don't know if that's the way to go.
yeah, no, it's
What's your experience, Brian? What follow up tip would you give somebody?
make phone calls, make friendships with people so you understand who they really are.
Hmm.
And I think once you need to know um, people's souls, you need to know who they are, and before you can really trust someone. And jump into a deal or, you know, buying government contracts. You know, we could,
How did that
Wow.
not come
How did
up?
that?
Wow. Shots fired. Way to just ruin everyone's day. I'm just gonna go home now.
Yeah, there's like a combined $2 million lost on this call due to government
Earth school.
contracts.
We're in Earth school, so it's all
that's
good.
right.
Listen, this is why when you invest, you can't do fly-by-night investments. You need to be on a mission to get the big money.
Big money, nice.
What are you, the
That's
fly-by-night was
good.
the
Yeah.
Fly by night
I
and
just
big
got
money.
3. Mission, come on.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was. I was like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Because it makes money." I was like, "That's not a good answer. I should have known there."
That's so awesome.
Because it makes a lot of money.
yeah.
All right, Brian, this was a lot of fun, guys. Before we jump off, any more interrogation? What do you got for Brian?
How many units do you own at this point, Brian?
So we have 4 flips going right now, so I technically still own them. So we're at 62.
Amazing.
And
Plus, you just
we're
got
in
another
the
one under
process
contract.
right now buying a piece of land that abuts a big piece that I have, and we think we can add another 6 units. So I have a wetland scientist that's going to meet me at the property. We're going to walk the property because it is on some wetlands, but I'm the only one that has access to it because it is a landlocked piece, and
Cool.
I can put a road in right through my property. So I think
All right, so
might have some value to me.
two questions. One, is that in Massachusetts or Tennessee? Where's that?
It's in Massachusetts. It's right on the Cape Cod Canal.
Oh,
It's
nice.
it would be an addition to my 18 unit. Add
Awesome.
another 6.
Awesome.
And then as far as the 4 flips you have going on concurrently, what do you have for like how many teams do you have working? Like what's your crew look like in terms of to have 4 flips going and making like good progress?
I can tell this is not a good answer.
Yeah,
Because I feel like me
it's
and
a
Brian
very
might be a
bad
little more
answer.
similar in this spot.
It's me
So-
and Sharon.
Have you met his wife?
Like
So Sharon's been on the chop
Sharon.
saw.
Right.
Yeah, I have Sharon on the chop saw. But so one of them's complete, and we're waiting to close in 2 weeks. And then I only do light renovations. So I finished up the Carver flip yesterday. I just got to get my tools out of there. And while I'm doing that, Sharon's been in one of the Mashpee ones, and she has the granite guys going. We put all the cabinets up already, so she's measuring for granite. She had the electricians in, so she's kind of running that one. I've only been over there like twice, and but she was there all day today, painting all day yesterday.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
Nice.
yeah, I've been
Any
in.
any kids at home anymore? Or are you empty nesters?
No, my daughter's back from college. She
Okay.
got her bachelor's in interior design, and she's looking for a house right now. So we're looking for something in
Gotcha.
the Pembroke area or something like that we can buy and she can move into. She can buy. So I overheard them talking as we were on the call, that they got approved for a loan. So I gotta hear what that's all
Nice.
about. But we've been looking at properties, so they'll be
Well,
out soon enough.
I got one more question. When do you quit fooling around doing all this crap and go full-time acting?
So we
Bro,
just
how
did
did that not come up?
Yeah.
so we did the 4th movie was just done on the Cape. We just finished that up, and you know, the producer asked me the other day. He sent me a text and asked me if I received a check yet. So apparently I'm getting paid on this one too.
Oh,
I got
nice.
I got 2,500 for the movie before that, and then there's another one that's out there that all the movies are on Tubi right now. So this one that's on Tubi, the Girl in the Yellow Lace. I don't know how much I'm going to get paid on that one, but I'm thinking this could be a really good one, and we could make
That's
some decent money on it.
awesome.
So
You know, Brian, Tubi has the commercials. I hope you get paid because I got the Fire Stick, and every time I go to click on something, one of those new streaming services is like, "Yep, we're only here. You got if you want to get this, you need our streaming service."
Yeah.
I must
Right.
spend like $300 a month. I don't know what the number is, but it's creeping up there because all the great documentaries on building wealth are split off on these little no-name streaming services.
Right?
Oh
I
yeah.
got Tubi. I got Tubi. So many commercials. What's the name of the movie you were in?
Well, it was Rest in Peace, part 2 and 3, and then The Girl in the Yellow Lace, and then the one that we just filmed. I guess they don't have the name totally secured yet, so they can't release the name till they
Right.
sell them the film. Um, but that one should be pretty good. I was also in two documentaries that Discovery America and A&E did, as we were searching for the Lady of the Dunes, and that's how I met them doing that. So it's been a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
he,
Brian, you need
he
to
when he,
text me the names of all the movies you've been in so I can add that to the show notes so people can
yeah, you
actually
could
go and check that
just
out.
Google my name and you'll see I have one of them. I have credits.
Are you in like the IMD?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
here's the
have one of
movies
them.
Brian's been in?
IMDb,
I don't
right?
I don't know where it came from. I just Googled my name one time and I saw it and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I got all these movies and stuff in there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All
So
right, we brought up the
Well,
Ponzi scheme. I got to go back to it. What was the
no,
lesson?
no, you really don't. You should
Yeah.
just totally just
Just
move on.
picking at the wound,
Don't
picking at the
The
invest
wound.
with people that you don't know, like, and trust.
what is the lesson from the Ponzi scheme? Actually, this can go around the table because everybody lost a little more than I did in that play. So, what
Yeah,
was the lesson from the
rub it
Ponzi
in.
I lost the most aggregately because all of my friends lost. And so that hurts me deeply. $5 million is what I tracked between everybody I know.
My point would be don't risk money you can't afford to lose. So I was fine, okay? Because we never went and mortgaged the house or anything like that. So if you want to
Valid.
play around and take some risks, do it with money that you can afford to lose, just like in Vegas, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I second Mike's point. That's a very important point. That holds true, I think, in any kind of speculative investing. Obviously, you're still not going to love if you take an L. It's still going to grind at you once in a while, but it's not going to, drastically impact your life. It's not going to cause, as Tim Ferriss says, uh, irrevocable damage or I can't say these words. I can't even talk these words. But anyway, um, it keeps you, it doesn't knock you out of the game. My big takeaway is that trust your gut. It doesn't matter if everybody's on one side of a room and you're standing alone on the other, and you're like, guys, you're all on the wrong side of the room. And I don't care if that goes on for 3 months, 6 months, or as in my case, a year. Don't cave, because then when you cave, you're like, oh, I was right, and I still got caught up in it. So
Yeah,
trust your
yeah,
gut. Doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. You got to trust your gut.
yeah,
yeah. I like that, and really don't chase other people's success, and also,
yeah.
we're getting invites to invest in whiskey barrels and this and that. Well, I've looked at it a few times. I don't know anything about it, so we're not going to do it. But the
Yeah.
the returns look pretty solid. But we're just going to stick with real estate. There's enough people that
Wait,
are doing
send me some
syndication.
information on that right away.
I won't do a
I'm
bar, but I'll
I'm
do
really
whiskey
interested
barrels.
in that.
Yeah,
I'm right there with the cannabis shops. I don't know what it is about my social media presence that people think I would be interested in cannabis shops. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't ever talk about it. And yet
Yeah,
guys are like, bro, this is where the money's at.
yeah.
Every
I
post
want
is
to
real estate. How is this what you're
I
telling me?
want to add. I've said this before on 100 Millionaires podcast, but cultivate your own garden, which comes from Voltaire in French, because we've said this like a million times. You do the things you know about and that you're comfortable with, and they may be a little boring because shiny objects show up, but if you just stick to what you know, you're much better off than jumping into whiskey barrels or Ponzi schemes or Turkish government contracts or bottle bottles, plastic bottles. What the?
Those
Forex trading
bottles.
bots, if I'm gonna throw them out there. Yeah.
Right.
Well, exactly. I mean, so it goes back to the age-old saying of, if it's too good to be true, 99% of the time it
Probably
is.
is. Yeah.
And stay in your lane. I mean, because the reality is
Stay
that everyone I know that's successful made their money generally at one specific thing. They dabbled in other things. Maybe those things made a little bit of money. Generally, they didn't. So just stick to what you're good at. And
Right.
then
I'm
if
really
you want,
glad that we all agreed that this is the last time Gualter will ever bring this up again, right? You remember we all said that?
we did say that. I believe we did.
We are so done with this ancient
It just
history.
makes such good content. I don't know if I'm done yet. I don't think I'm ready to let it go. But I promise that I will aim to be more sensitive in the future when we bring it up, and we'll always laugh about how awesome we are today, even though
Yeah.
we made some mistakes when we were young and silly with
This
our
is
We
money.
brush
blessing.
off our mistakes because that's
Yeah.
all they are.
Everything's a lesson.
You learn, right? You win or you learn. Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Alchemist Station podcast. Before we jump off, do us a huge favor. Go down into the comments, type something that you got out of this conversation. Type something that you liked about what Brian's investment strategy is. If something in there really intrigued you, or was the first time you'd heard it, or if we just validate a lot of your already preconceived notions around how real estate works and how business works. If you already knew everything, just type in the chat, hey, I knew this already. Give us a thumbs up. It makes it more valuable to other people. The algorithm seems to just, for some reason, when people share a post, it puts it in front of more people. It's the oddest thing. So if you think that this podcast is doing well and you like the information, you like us, and even if you don't like us, but you heard me say this part, please like, share, drop a comment below. The Alchemist Station podcast here to stay. We're going to bring on more guests. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. I always work with the best. Before we get out of here, Mike Schein.
Yes.
What is the goal here?
Oh, massive income from passive income. Yes.
Mitch Jaworski, how do we do it?
You got to organize and collect.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, the point is not to work, it's to generate income.
Wait a sec. I want to know if Brian has a. Does Brian have
Brian,
a
you want a catchphrase?
catchphrase?
Oh,
Catchphrase
boy.
us out of here, Brian.
Yeah.
He said
Believe and
like, share,
achieve,
subscribe.
baby.
Believe.
Say it again.
There you
Say
go.
it
Believe
again.
and achieve.
Believe and achieve. I love it. I love it.
Oh no, take us out of here on a rush quote. We need a rush quote.
The men who hold high places must be the ones to start.
True.
Yeah.
Mold a new reality closer to the heart.
Closer to the heart. Peace.
Brian, give me one.
I was putting him
Living
on
in the limelight, the universal dream.
There you go.
There you go. I love it.
All the world is
I'll
a
just spin my
stage.
drumstick over
Says
here.
says our movie star.
Yeah, exactly. The movie star. All the world is a stage for the movie star. We are merely players, performers,
That's
and
awesome.
portrayers.
Each another's audience. If I'm the Gilded Stage.
Okay, this is getting out of control. Like, share, subscribe.
All right.